You don't have to be particularly well versed in the areas of commerce to know that motor traders like money. They're like your money. And if they can get it out of the schools, they'll get it out of there under the cloak of any disguise they can manage. As Adam Costello says, try disguise number 2. And you know, that's what they do all of the time. And what's been happening with this dreadful movement away from local authorities and proper control is that our communities, which very often only have an extremely tenuous hold on their own services, have seen even that wrenched away from them. When you can put people up as school governors, local councillors, working in the community, giving their all, and very often the school is the focus of all of that. The Tenants Association usually meets in the schoolrooms up there. But now, we're seeing even that tenuously pulled away, stretched off from the community in which it lives. And of course we know that in Academies, that the sponsor, whoever they may be, chooses who will be the governors. Does anyone really think that somebody from, you know, the C2s and D1s or whatever the Solicitor General's categorisations are, does anyone believe that these sponsors will actually invite really serious people from the community onto their school? I don't think so. I know so. That won't happen. It's not in their interests for it to happen. And the Public Accounts Committee, one of the bodies that's produced such a damning report on Academies, has actually found evidence of private sponsors awarding themselves contracts from within the school without going out to competitive tender, but just awarding themselves that particular contract. There's been evidence of this for a long time, ever since the Tories introduced local management and bringing about different ideas of governorship and the way schools are managed. We've always had to look out for the little corruption, you know, who'll pack people at school dining room. Well, I've got a mate who'll do that, and that's been going on, and we've had to deal with that low-level corruption. This is going to be big time. And the money we're talking about runs into an awful lot of, there's no such thing as pound notes, is there? £50 notes. It runs into an awful lot. Just this week, when I'd asked what the total capital spend was on the School Academy programme, as opposed to that onto the state secondary system, I received a reply. I'm afraid it was obfuscated. It said that we can't give you the disaggregating figures for community secondaries because it's tied up with primary, and that's decided by local authorities. So we can't really tell you how much is spent on community secondaries. And the same, they said in the answer, for academies. Well, I hadn't realised there was such a big expenditure on primaries coming out of the academy movement. It might be tough to say somewhere, but it certainly isn't a lot. But what I found, even from the figures that have been presented, and with a little disaggregation of my own, based on my own local authority and the split between secondary and primary capital expenditure, I could pretty confidently tell you that for every £1 that goes into the school capital budgets, that 10 pence of that is spent on academies, even though academies account for less than 1% of the total school places. So what we're seeing is an absolute skewing of the funding available for our secondary community schools. This means simply that those schools that most of you teach in are being deprived of what is their rightful share of capital spending. And similarly, there are also differences in the revenue accounts. Not that I can yet discover the extent of that. This is further obfuscation by government, who clearly, I think, is embarrassed and has been mostly embarrassed by the Public Accounts Committee report. So we know what's going on. It's actually identifying it precisely. But in the meantime, we can say with confidence that there is simply not fair play between the community secondary sector and the money that's going into academies. What we can also say from the excellent research that's been carried out up and down this country is that the results that come from the academies, and improvements such as they are, can be wholly explained by the additional resource. There is no evidence of better teaching, no evidence of better management, no evidence of anything except there's more money. And I challenge any one of you here now, couldn't you do more with more money? Of course you could. Of course you could. And yet we have Lord Adonis literally lording it over the education department. In my own authority, there was no question that they felt they were being pushed into building academies as part of their Building Schools for the Future program. I've seen the transcript of the meetings between the Department of Education and my authority. And what do they say? We believe that Wolverhampton must make a serious consideration of academies. It doesn't say you have to, but my authority felt they had the message that unless they put academies into the program, there would be no prospect of building schools for the future money anytime soon. As it is, they're only going to wave 5. So it's hardly a great prize. But the fact of the matter is that governments have used these strong-arm tactics. You saw it with council housing, and we've heard this morning of the important links that we have, and that's part of my view that we have to bring all of these things together. The strong-arm tactics used over council housing to ensure local authorities gave away or produced an arm's length organisation to manage their council housing. Strong-arm tactics, you won't get any money from modernisation if you don't do it that way. The doctors we've seen this week, either open longer or strong-arm again, will take away money from you and we'll do it another way. And this is the same with academies. No, you don't have to have an academy, but if you don't have an academy, you can be pretty sure your authority will way down the list against those who are prepared to have an academy. So we have a long fight to go. We've made some progress. I urge you all to see the big picture as well as the important work of focusing in on how we take the next stage forward of beating this academy problem that we have, which frankly is becoming a bit of a disease. I urge you all to work hard, to work within the unions and the wider movement to ensure that our message, that we can do the job if you give us the tools, is just as true today as it ever was. Thank you.